Let's Take This Outside with Marianne Iveson, the podcast where she speaks to athletes, outdoor professionals, and scientists about why they connect with nature.
Ollie Treviso is an adventurer, endurance walker, and mental health advocate, and the first person to walk the entire length of the Andes. That's 14,000 kilometers across 7 countries on foot. In this episode, Ollie shares how getting lost in his 20s led him outdoors, how walking became his therapy, and what he learned about kindness, resilience, and humanity along the way, from Patagonia to the Venezuelan jungle. This isn't about records, it's about purpose, perspective, and why stepping outside can change everything. Please welcome Ollie Treviso. Ollie, it's so great to have you on Let's Take This Outside. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it as well.
Well, I love your accent. So first of all, I'm going to say I love your accent. You're from Wales.
That's it, yeah.
It's from Swansea. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah.
Because my boyfriend is from England, of course. So I hear your accent and I try to nail down these UK accents, and I would have never known you were from Wales.
No? I'm sure he would know.
He would know.
Straight away, yeah.
He would know, yeah.
People like making fun of us. But I know, I like it, and there's just so many different accents in the UK. It's something I find quite fun myself, picking up on accents and guessing where they're from.
Yeah, it's a new hobby of mine when I hear it. First of all, so you live in Swansea, which is right on the coast. Can you kind of describe where it is? Because it looks like a beautiful place to grow up.
Yes. So Swansea is, a very famous poet named Dylan Thomas described it a long time ago as a lovely, ugly town, which is still so true even to this day, because the centre is an absolute dump.
Yeah.
But it got heavily bombed in the war. But anyway, they haven't done it very well. But the nature with it is amazing. We have an amazing coastline. We have a huge stretch of beach, Swansea Bay, that's right next to the city. But then we have the Gower Peninsula, which is the first protected land of the UK. So, and around there is really special. It's one of my favourite places to go. So yeah, beautiful place, very friendly people, I like to say.
Okay, let's take it back, because I love finding out when people originally kind of spent time in nature and when they fell in love with nature. Did that start as a kid for you, or was that later in life?
I had a very outdoorsy childhood, but I wasn't thinking of it as maybe what I think of it now. I was just always out playing sports, fishing, rugby. A lot of us played rugby, football. But I'd never really took interest in nature. I wasn't thinking of it as a thing, if you know what I mean. And actually didn't really care about it. Didn't think about it until I was about 22, 23. So I went to Australia when I was 21. And I think then the sort of blinkers started to come down a little bit. And I started to meet people from all around the world who started to open up my eyes. So it was quite a bit later on, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things for me. Yeah, but I had a very outdoorsy childhood.
You've done some incredible things, like walking a lap of Wales, sailing the Atlantic, walking, the length of the Andes. Just mentioned Australia, but was there one moment or experience that made you realize hey, this is the path I want to take, literally and figuratively?
Yeah. So I went to Australia when I was 21 just because I had enough of it back here. I had family there, but I was moving there to work. I wasn't thinking of it as an adventure or anything. I was just going to do what I was doing here over there. And that's pretty much what I did. And I worked hard all week and I partied on the weekend. It was one of them sort of things. And then somebody said to me, or an old girlfriend of mine said to me, "You've come all this way and you're doing exactly what you were doing back home." And I don't know why, but I really took it in. I thought that's very true. So I started to travel more. I started to leave Sydney, leave the cities. And then it's a long story, but I ended up in France, because my girlfriend was from France, ended up there, got into agriculture. And then that sort of I started to travel around working on farms. And when I was in Morocco, COVID broke out, but so I was working on a farm in Morocco. Sorry, it's a really long story. I'm trying to break it down.
That's okay.
I ended up in Morocco, and I really wanted to more from travel, and I'd still never heard of adventures, long distance walking, Shackleton, Scots, or anything like that. I'd never even thought about it or heard about it. But the family said to me, "Oh, why don't you just walk home from Morocco?" I was like, "That's a brilliant idea." It was literally as simple as that. I just thought, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So
You say walk home from Morocco? Is that just...
no, no. So what happened? That was during COVID. So I was
Yeah.
happily stuck in Morocco for 3 months when it first kicked
Yeah.
off in the March. Was desperate to walk home. I was driving everyone nuts on the farm I was working on. I was like, I am definitely walking home. Like I was so excited.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what happened was then I couldn't, and I was so set on walking really far. I thought, right, I've never travelled in Wales, and I've never been to Scotland, so I'm just going to walk to Scotland. And I just, and that was literally, that was it. And as soon as they opened the doors for us to go, I left. But what happened then was, so I told my family, they were shocked because they were like, you know, they couldn't get me to walk home from town. The centre was just 10 minutes away. I live up on the hill, and now he wants to walk to Scotland. They're like, what's going on? But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my grandfather took me to see his friend who was a rambler, so a part of a walking group. We call them the Ramblers. And he said, look, which way do you want to go? Do you want to go the fastest way or the most beautiful way? I said, I'll go the most beautiful way. And he just threw this book on my lap, The Welsh Coastal Path. And that's how I found out about it. So I would have seen this yellow and blue sign. I would have walked past it, I don't know how many times. And it's never caught my eye. And that was it. I set off with his book and walked from my house and ended up walking. I just set off with a bag so heavy, I could have lasted in Antarctica for a month probably. I had everything in there. It was completely packed the wrong way round. So as I would pack my bag now, I would do it literally the other way. Like I had my sleeping bag up the top, for example. Do you know what I mean? I just didn't know how to pack my bag. I had 2 cans of gas. I had 5 sets of t-shirts. No, I was equipped for anything. But I learned the hard way. Do you know what I mean? It was so painful, that bag was. I just remember waking up the first morning and just there's no way that my shoulders aren't blue. You know, they have to be bruised. Like they were so. But that was, when I think about it now, that was the magic in it for me. You know, I'd never camped, like I'd never wild camped or anything like that. So it was just this really fulfilling experience. I can't remember what the question was, but I was going off on a rant then. But that's how I ended up there. And I wanted to walk to Scotland. So I got all the way up, right up to the top end, to the border in Chester.
How long was it? Do you know how far it was?
Yeah, so miles. So I ended up, what happened was I got to the end of the coastal path. I think it was 800 miles, something like that. I wanted to walk to Scotland, but COVID was coming back and we were going back into lockdown. So I said, right, maybe I'll just walk home. And if I get stopped, then, you know, I just thought there's no way I'll come up here to get the train home. So I started walking the border of England and Wales on a path called Offa's Dyke, and basically created a full loop of Wales, a full lap of Wales, because I came back down to the coast and literally walked to my house. It was amazing to have this literally full circle, but a real life.
Literal full circle, yeah.
Yeah, literal, and just I would go as far as in life changing. It really was, and I was just hooked on it then. That's all I think about.
So you were like camping along the way.
Yeah, so the rule
Yeah.
was you don't pay for accommodation. I think it was, I really wanted to learn to look after myself, you know, and there's a lot more to it that time. I was very lost, and well, it was magic for me, really. I loved it. But what did happen is that I received a lot of kindness that just blew my mind, and I just started gathering some amazing stories, experiences, and just blew my mind. Honestly, I really found a passion and straight away, and that was it. It all sort of stemmed from there, really. Obviously, there was a lot of steps to that point, but that walk around Wales was really, and even just falling in love with Wales. Do you know what I mean? I was seeing, you know, I'd never seen 90% of that coast, so it was even things like that, and I was falling in love with my own country, and so yeah, fantastic experience.
And I think we're both lucky because I live in Canada.
Nice.
And, you know, which is massive,
Yeah.
which is so huge.
Yeah.
And it would take several lifetimes to see everything, right?
Yeah.
But there is something about nature, and it's a big part of this podcast where I talk about how like walking outside, being outside is so good for our mental health, right? It could really, it transcends how you view yourself and each other and nature. Can you tell me more about maybe your struggle, maybe with mental health in your like early 20s and kind of how that turned things around for you? Like,
Yeah, I think a lot of it was so like in my late teens, acting in a way that I wasn't proud of, like lots of insecurities as well, that sort of thing. Quite an angry, lost boy, probably as most people are. Then I started getting into like steroids and getting into trouble on the weekend and stuff like that, fighting, that sort of thing. And I think once I started to travel and my eyes started to open and realize how bad that was as well. And I just sort of thought, right, that's me. You know, I was devastated that like, I thought that that's the way I was because I'd done that, if that makes sense. But then, you know, like you can't change then, for example, like if you've been like that. But that's not true. And I think once you get outside, you get a lot of perspective. And like that's what it was for me. And just I was probably worrying about things that's just not even that important, but I didn't know the shake. Things were very grave for me. And literally without even thinking about it, it just sort of left. You know, the worries just sort of I don't know. I just sort of, I was getting so much clarity in the way I was thinking. You know, it was just this really day by day thing. And then I started to speak to people. No, because I was quite vulnerable because you're out walking, talking, you're meeting strangers, and you're probably talking to them about things that you wouldn't even talk to your mates to. Well, I wouldn't have at that time. I definitely would know. And then when you start hearing people saying, "Oh, don't worry about that. I did the same," or my friend, you know, you start thinking, "Oh, hang on a minute now." So I think it was just like a combination of like the nature side of it, and really the people was massive for me as well. I really remember that and just thinking, God. And then again from there, I find it really easy to talk about pretty much anything. Obviously I wouldn't say everything to anyone, but generally, well, I would, but it's a time and place as well. You know what I mean? Isn't it? Like you just
there's something about, I don't know the exact science on this, but I've heard about that you're just so much more vulnerable and able to speak when you're walking almost side by side
yeah,
versus like looking in someone's eye, right?
yeah, yeah. And I also found that strangers were talking to me
Right.
about just and it wasn't like other walkers. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't. It wasn't like that scenario. It maybe I never forget being in a place called Porthmadog, which is a very Welsh, beautiful place. And I'm in this town now, and I put my stove in between my legs, and I make myself a cup of coffee because I didn't have much money, like so I wasn't buying it. And this bloke comes walking over to me. He says, "All right, mate," and just ends up sitting next to me, and he's asking me about my hair. Literally, asking about my hair.
Mm-hmm.
We were there for an hour, and he was talking to me about the problems he had with his wife. And I was and he was just like, and he said, "I don't even talk to my mates about it." I said, "I never even met." He said, "The best thing is I'll probably never even see you again." And it was just like one of them things. Like I never forget that 'cause we both just left this mutual brilliant conversation, and I know we both left that situation feeling better. And then I never exchanged contact details or nothing like that. And he gave me a fiver to buy myself a coffee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that was it. So it was just little things like that, but it was all the time for me. It was relentless, like, and it was just coming from nowhere. And yeah, like I said, I think if you talk to my family and friends and talk to them before and after that walk, and even for them, because I don't come from a family of travelers, adventurers, or anything. Like my dad's Italian, so I suppose that's a story in a sense, as in itself. Family spread out a bit, but leaving their life in search for a better one, not walking round. But I share the stories with them. I'm like, you're not going to believe what's happened today. You're not going to believe I'm in somebody's house now. The first person on day 3, a couple invited me into their house. They were about 70 at the time, and bearing in mind this is in the height of COVID, 3 months in, so it's just wearing off a bit. So elderly people are naturally more cautious. And I was chatting to them, and they said, "Well, if you like, you can come and camp in the garden, and we can sort out food for you." Then we got along. They said, "Actually, you can stay in the house." So I rang my grandmother, who's like my best friend. I love her to bits. I said, Nan, you're not going to believe it. Somebody's let me stay in their house. She said, oh, look at you staying in strangers' houses. You don't know who they are. Well, they actually go out for dinner together now. We're all very good friends.
So they're not strangers anymore.
Not definitely not. We've been over each other's houses. Barbara and Stuart met my family. We've gone over there. So it's just like, it just they instead of them judging strangers, not in a nasty way, but you know what I mean. Like that worrying about
Yeah, just being productive.
yeah, exactly. And now they're hanging about together.
That's called community. That's what that is, right?
It's just. I just love that story. I've been speaking to Barbara today as well. I'm really good, close with them. Like so, and it was those moments. Like, do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot to be said for that.
You became the first person to walk the entire length of the Andes, which is like 14,000 Canadian kilometers, 7 countries, 20 months. Is that how long it took you?
Yeah, that's it.
That's like hard to wrap your head around. Can you tell me about like the inspiration and like the experience, the joys, the struggles, and yeah, tell me about the Andes because there's no way that was easy.
No, it wasn't easy. It's such a mad thing for me to talk about now because it feels like it never happened. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. So I've been back for 3 months now. But yeah, the Andes come around. So when I went to Australia, I met for the first time somebody who was traveling to South America. I'd never heard of anybody doing that before. Where I'm from, people generally, especially then, didn't travel. And that was it. That's why I sort of built up this dream out. No, I was going to go to South America. And that was like the first seed I can really think about. But obviously, since that moment, we're talking 7 years of traveling, doing bits. The Walk of Wales, I did Land's End, John O'Groats in the middle of winter. So that's the length of Britain. So I'd obviously found this love for slow travel. So when I was in Gran Canaria, I was living in a I was living in a cave in Gran Canaria. When I was yeah,
That's just so random.
when I was there, because it is a piece of the puzzle. I met a couple who were searching for a boat to sail the Atlantic, and I again never heard of that before. I see sailboats from my house every day, just never again thought about it. And when I heard it, I just thought that is unbelievable. Like I've got to go and do that. But I said that was before Morocco, so that was before COVID. COVID broke out, but I thought as soon as COVID really breaks, I am going to get on a boat to South America, and that's what I did. So I went to Gran Canaria, year and a half later, or 2 years later, and found a boat. Finally, get into the dreamland. They bought a bike in Brazil. Really didn't like the bike straight away. I mean, I love cycling, but I just again know them human interactions. I felt like I was missing the magic a little bit. I really liked the pace of walking. So a few things happened. Then I had a call from back home to say a part of my family has died in a tragic accident, basically. So I went home, went to a really negative space, naturally, all the family as well. And I got given a book about Shackleton. And then it just lit this fire in me again. And the dream, for me, South America was about the Andes. Just the story of the Welsh settlement there and the story of the Uruguayan rugby team. I don't know if you've heard that. So though I was very drawn to the Andes. And it was one of them, I remember just listening to it and sort of, because I was thinking about doing a long walk through Patagonia, or do I go to Peru? And I could see that they were so diverse, the mountains. And I just wanted to do it all. And I think a combination of, I like walking. I wanted to see South America. Obviously now life can be very short. That's what let's just do it all. That was the thinking process. Just F it. Let's try and do it all. And that was it. And 3 months later, I set off to walk the Andes, basically. So I was very unprepared. And that's sort of how it was created, I suppose. It was just a combination of those three things. That was it.
So can you tell me about going to the Andes? What did you pack? And how did you kind of plan this? Because I'm assuming like the weather would be a huge challenge because that's such a wide range of climate, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So the especially the south was really, I think, that the whole of it, the timing you'd really want to get right. I think if it was going down there in the middle of winter, again, it would have been possible, but it would have been another level of clothing again, maybe, or certainly sleeping bag wise. So to be honest, it was when I did Land's John O'Groats in the middle of winter. It wasn't far much different than that, believe it or not. So I would have had, basics, the two pairs of socks. I was always covered, so I had my trousers on, long sleeve top, and then I'd have mid layer, waterproof jacket, waterproof trousers, shoes, and then all merino stuff for the night. So I'd always have my spare clothes for the night in a dry bag. Solid tent, so I didn't really mess about with a tent. I went heavier than I normally would. Something was a bit risky. I took an alcohol stove, but I did get through it with it. So that was a case of taking the alcohol in the sleeping bag with me. I had my GPS and satellite phone, which were really important, and obviously keeping everybody in the loop. And there's often many days without signal. So it wouldn't be, for anybody who goes on long hikes or anything like that, I don't think it would be that shocking, if you know what I mean. But then what happens then is at a certain point to really climb up the altiplano, and you are walking at 5,000 meters every day.
It's high.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's
you're
high.
talking minus 15 in the night Celsius. So yeah, that's cold. So that was a case, and I ended up buying another layer for my sleeping bag because that was like brutal cold. But the thing with that was that it was dry. So it was like consistent. So it was just literally a case of staying covered up and in the night making sure you can be warm. Whereas in the south, you could have, it's like Wales, but a bit more extreme, maybe the north of Scotland or something, where you can have it all in a day. There's nothing to say you're
Yeah.
not going to get soaked. It's not going to snow. And what is worth saying in Tierra del Fuego, that southern cone, is the wind is absolutely incredible. Like I never ever felt anything like that. So humbling and just frustrating. You're taking me back there now. I remember just like every day was treacherous because it's just you are actually leaning forward. It was, and a gust could take you off your feet. So that was pretty hard. But again, the great thing was once that was out of the way, a breeze or normal wind was
Nothing.
nice.
Yeah, it was nothing. Yeah.
So I felt like it just toughened me up really quick.
Like after months and months of living with like so little, what did you learn about what we really need to feel content when you come back home?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, honestly, I was the happiest out there in the tent in the night on my own. I loved it. I loved the feeling. Say, right, next restock is at in 4 days, and I'd walk off, and I knew I had everything. I loved that feeling, and I honestly didn't carry anything unnecessary. The only thing I could have got rid of was my diary, the book. That I didn't need that, but that was it. Everything was just exactly what I needed, and I loved it. I just, and even now, like, yeah, I'm back home. I just got too many things, so many things. It's just, I'm trying not to wear the same clothes all the time, so I don't look like,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
why only changing his clothes, like, um, but what can we learn from it? I think it's just great to know, like, because it's very easy, especially again being home and talking with friends. They got this, they having houses, and I just think, which is great for them. And I know these things are essential as well, but don't kill yourself over it. The new shoes and everything, because the bottom line is they're never gonna put a smile. They're never gonna make you happy, are they? There's that thing when you buy them, for example. I don't want to talk about shoes, but you know what I mean. It's those novel problems. And I think when you strip it all back, what you need is food, water. And I got to be honest, a big thing for me then was like the smiley face. When I would see someone, I'd be elated, and it could just be that enthusiastic truck driver was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I would just be so much more happier than, I don't know, a couple of likes online or something. Do you know what I mean? So I really still hold on to that as much as I can and go back to it. And sometimes I even now, like I felt a couple of weeks ago, I said, God, I'm getting so wound up about all these things. And I just went for a little walk to the park for the first time since I've been back, just like without anybody, because I'm trying to see everybody all the time. And you just thought, this is, I don't know the science behind it, but I just went and felt better after it. It was just one of them, doing listen to the birds, and it just reminded me of the walking. So, yeah, everything's all right. So I don't understand it in a scientific way, but it works for me anyway.
I have lots of scientists and researchers I've had on this podcast who have been able to prove it. So that what we experience is true. Yeah.
I believe it. Do you know what I mean? I just not gonna just sort of try and go into it because I'm not fully sure on it all. But I just feel like I'm living proof of it really, because it's like I said, it's flipped my life completely. And even now, like with just even exercise, talking, these human interactions, sometimes I just delete social media off my phone, and it's instant. Like it's unbelievable. So yeah.
It's funny because I have been slowly like because I still like I'm a voice actor and podcaster, so I still have to like post things sometimes but I'm finding that I'm like removing like a social media app like once a week from my phone. Like I can still access it on my computer, but I'm just like, this isn't healthy. Like Twitter was awful for me. I've removed that from my phone. I removed LinkedIn. I'm just like, this is a way, like some of these are just a total waste of time. In some ways you can connect with people, but in other ways I'm finding it's such a time suck and so bad for my mental health, especially the way the world is right now. So I totally understand that.
Just to clear that up as well, I don't want to slate it too much because it's helped me a lot. It really has, but I know when it's not. And when I'm just flicking and I got things to do, or that I know that's different than it. So I'll just, if I feel like I'm doing it, I'll just delete it. Because I obviously don't need to be on there because I'm not using it for anything in particular. Like I am trying to stay fairly active with it. I know it's a good tool, met a lot of people through it. So, I guess I'm not going to write it off completely, but I also sometimes can feel that I look at it and think, oh, maybe I should be doing that. Maybe I should be there. Maybe maybe I need them, but I don't though. So I delete this straight away, and that's got. It's just an app, isn't it? It's literally just like think, gone, see you later, then you can just download it back. It's not really a big deal.
Let's take this outside with Marianne Iveson. Let's Take This Outside now has a newsletter. Keep up to date with outdoor news, events, and great discount codes and deals from our partners. Sign up today at letstakethisoutside.ca.
Can you tell me maybe a bit about some of your favorite places when it comes to people, the beauty, when you're walking along the Andes?
Yeah, well, I think the best thing about the Andes is that the fact that it's so diverse. That's why I was so drawn to it. So, even over the hostile sort of south, and then you get these lush, green, dense forests with these immaculate lakes. And yeah, the people were brilliant everywhere. I'd never liked the cities, to be honest. I couldn't wait to get out of them. But yeah, especially because what does happen is that so the Andes is sort of 1,500 meters, the high point. So you're always fairly low at the start. Then the altiplano kicks in. Like people can't live sort of too high up in the mountains in the south because it's too hostile. But once you sort of get to northern Argentina, you start to see people living in the mountains, and they can be very shy. But so yeah, very shy, quite timid people generally. That not everyone mind because they can be pretty full on as well. But I just loved it, and honestly, in every country. I mean, I think as well, like Venezuela, that they were just like absolutely bananas in Venezuela, like so friendly. They were so happy to have me there. And I had a lot of interaction. So it would be 30 or 40 people walking with me in a day in Venezuela sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was day after day of different walking groups come to join me and really wanting to show off their country, make me feel welcomed.
Wow.
And just very kind loving people. So obviously I couldn't speak Spanish before, gradually getting better. I really thought I'd have it nailed in 6 months, but I started to realize that you're not going to learn much in the middle of the desert on your own. I could have been anywhere in the world, because the desert's a desert. But and you just sort of having that same chit chat, really. But what happened was I got to Venezuela, I had a guide and we were talking, and it just excelled then. So obviously I had a decent level by then. So, those conversations would have been a bit more full on, I suppose. But I just loved how it came whenever I least expected it. Like, it always seemed to be the same, and probably when I needed it. There was one time in the desert of Argentina, this is again in the south, barely saw anyone all day. A van then stopped next to me. He was like, in Spanish, "What are you doing here?" I told him. He was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "Wales" in Spanish. And he said, "Swansea?"
How did you
No.
know?
Yeah, well, I said, I swore first in English. I went back to English and said, "No way." He said, I said, "How do you know Swansea?" He said, "I led an expedition for a group from Swansea to Venezuela." Yeah, this is in the middle of it. This is 300 kilometers of nothing. This section is. So from anyone from the UK, that's Swansea to London. It's a long way. Anyway, he said, "Look, when you give me his number, give me all the food he had in his van." He said, "When you get the Bariloche, you're more than welcome to stay at my house." Spent Christmas with his family. Unbelievable. We're still in touch now. And I went on to meet a lot of people through him. It's hard to imagine the journey without him because yeah, I met some key people of that adventure in my life now through him. And I was in the middle of the desert. Honestly, just like, what's going on? Yeah. How's that just happened? But obviously, it's those boosts.
The world is so small.
Yeah,
Honestly,
well,
it is
it
small.
is. It is. And it was just like, it really was the boost I needed, I think, at that time. And I always felt like that. I always felt when I was really getting to that edge, there would just be that moment of magic. It gives you faith, I think, when you do something like that.
I keep hearing you say like your favorite moments are connecting with people. I love that.
Yeah, it was like that. Obviously incredible moments in nature, like Altiplano, the northern section. So you get up, so it's the border with sort of Chile, Bolivia, and it's the Atacama, above the Atacama Desert. It's 5,000 meters high, 6,000-meter volcanoes around these bizarre rocks. It's all sand, and I've never felt like I was out of Earth so much in my life, to the point that it almost brought like a tear to my eye. So all of that section, the different coloured lakes, you'd find the flamingos would be there.
What's it called?
So I walked into the Eduardo Avaroa National Park. That was a Bolivian section. There's all different coloured lakes there, huge volcanoes. But there's a national park, the Chilean side as well, which is, it's unbelievable. You'll find if you type it in, across the Uni, the largest salt flat in the world. Again, that's 3 days on just salt, which is just like, nothing I've ever experienced before. Complete silence, the best stars that you could ever see, and just those sunsets and sunrises, the colours. Oh my word, it was just, it just gives me extra little fuzzy. It was unbelievable. I was just on my own out there, just smiling, honestly. Very cold when the sun went down, but I didn't care. I was adamant that I was going to stay out my tent.
I was just going to say, after the podcast, I'm going to make you tell me exactly where they were so I can put notes in like the show notes so people can kind of like see these places. Yeah.
Because there's a few up there and they're just fantastic, honestly, all of that section. But
Patagonia has been on my list for a long time, like to see Patagonia and like.
Yeah, again, it's breathtaking. Like, do you know what I mean? It is just, I don't want to say it's perfect. When I was there, I just thought this is perfect. They had everything I wanted there. It was wild enough. I could get warmed there every day. Because it was just going into summer, late spring, summer. Washing my clothes in the river every night. I could have myself a little fire. Just thought, this is brilliant. This is better than my house back home. I was literally there was no hardship for me. I remember thinking that, like, so this is fantastic. Loved it. And yeah, and so that's got that. And then, the desert to the north of Argentina, again, the mountains get really impressive, but they start to get colourful as well.
Right.
Obviously, Peru, I started following the Capacñan, which is the English for it is the Inca Trail,
Mm.
but it's where it originally started in Mendoza, which is the middle of Argentina, and that pretty much took me to Colombia. I never followed it completely. Peru, I did, and you literally walking through history. Like you're following at times an ancient path that's a few meters wide that takes you to all these incredible landmarks. Obviously, Machu Picchu, but that's just one side of it. I mean, it was 1,500 kilometers of just pure authentic history. Sometimes you're walking in places where they're living up there in the mud huts, no electricity, no access by car or transport, and it's just they're inviting you in and just like this is. It's difficult to find places like that. I think that's so pure. And again, Peru, maybe one of the most diverse countries in the world. Like sometimes I would go up or down 2,000 meters in a day. So I remember sometimes I go from glaciers down into the rainforest to this piping hot desert covered in sandflies that I absolutely hated because I was getting bitten to death. But obviously it was fantastic as well. It kept me on my toes. It's these steep valleys. And then Ecuador, it's such a small, diverse country, but they just these giant volcanoes and scattered round. It almost like a moorland. And again, so much culture changing very fast. Colombia, again, I went through it all from the rainforest desert back up high into the moorlands, these big, and then Venezuela, which put me on pins. There was a lot of negativity about it, and I had this wonderful experience. Climbed the highest mountain there. Again, just so diverse, so impressive. Like it was, and then to finish at the Caribbean Sea, and that was really a big draw for me to think I was going to this hostile south. I mean, you're a couple of 100 miles away from Antarctica. To finish at the Caribbean, and I think when you think about paradise, you say the Caribbean, don't you? Like I've never been in before, but that's the general thing. So I just thought, how can I go from this hostile south to this Caribbean and everything in between? I just thought that was fantastic, and it was. So it's really nice to talk about it because I probably don't think about it enough. But yeah, going back to it, I just think it's those interactions that I love because I was on my own. And maybe I felt like when I was finding those incredible spots, wouldn't it be nice to share it as well on times? As happy as I was on my own. When I had, for example, Rafa at the end of the guide, he was discovering parts of Venezuela he hadn't seen before. I know to share that elation when you climb the mountain and you look over to the view, and we would just be buzzing together, and we just to share that moment was brilliant.
Will you be going back? And what's next for you?
Yeah, so I'm going back to Patagonia in 4 weeks.
Now, soon, so soon.
Yeah. I'm going back over there for the British winter, so I'll see what happens then. And yeah, I just feel like obviously when you walk on a roll, there's only so much you can see, and especially the first half, I found it very difficult to stop. I couldn't stand it because I found the size of the adventure so daunting, and I just knew every day we have off is obviously one day slower. And I could see after it was such a long time that, for example, you have one day off a week, for example, it's a long time. We're talking about months that it's adding on. So it was like I was playing darts during every day. I would be adding up, right? Okay, this you've done that. We got this left. And when I got halfway, I just got rid of that and really started to enjoy it. But I was more during the first half. I wouldn't have any days off unless I had to, and I would be out there 11 hours a day, just going as far as I could. So I'd love to go back because it's such an impressive place. I mean, it's a lifetime of adventure and more there, do you know what I mean? But I'm excited to go back and really try and embrace the place and find out more as well. So I'm excited.
Can you quickly tell me about the charity work that you're doing? And it sounds like you're speaking at schools too and talking about your journeys.
Yeah, so I was raising funds for a mental health charity when I was doing it, in aim to raise funds to create an adventure project, which we've managed to do, which is brilliant. So far, since I've been back once a month, we've been taking people out on day adventures, normally a hike through the mountains, which has just been brilliant, to be honest. I think it's been just as good for me as it has been for anybody else. So that's been great to meet like-minded people and just to share the outdoors. But this week I've been working with primary schools. So I've been working
Oh,
with sort of 8 to 11-year-olds, and it's just been maybe the most fulfilling thing I've ever done, I think. And really, really made me see the benefits of this adventure when I see their faces, when I'm telling them the stories, and just listening to their questions. I just think they're brilliant. Honestly, they're just firing stuff and they catch me off guard.
tell me about the birthday thing.
Yeah. So they seem very concerned about my birthday because,
Like, what are you doing for your birthday? Like,
yeah,
you're out in the middle of the wild. Like, where's your cake? Where's your presents?
yeah.
Or,
So they were
yeah.
like, so how long were you gone for? 20 months, so almost 2 years. Yeah. So what did you do for your birthday? I said, well, actually, and I told them a story, and they were like, but they kept asking me, so you left when you were 28 and you got on when you was 29. So it's just one birthday, yeah, just one birthday. But what about Christmas? And I tell them I was sharing it with the family, and like, oh my God. You know, they absolutely love it that I'm sort of showing them the kindness in people, but making it relative to them by showing them, telling them about Christmas, and it's just so nice to see it being put to them and that they enjoy it, and they love it about the animals. And one boy today, they loved it. But where did you go to the toilet? I know they're all
Yeah.
they're all chuckling, but it's just nice that they're thinking about it. And or they could ask, how long has it taken to recover? You are getting such a
Those are good
range.
questions.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I didn't even think about that before I started. I wish I
Yeah.
did because I'm suffering now. But
Yeah.
so it's really interesting to see the way they are, and I've actually had emails from parents now through the charity to say, "Oh, my son or daughter's come back. They really want to get out. They were so excited about Ollie's adventure," and I think to have that email then, not that he want the praise, but just to know that they're going home excited and wanting to do an adventure themselves.
That's
Because I think
amazing.
we can take so much from it, can we? Even on a simple way of understanding the area where we're from or the kindness of people. And I think there's a lot to be said for it, for sure.
Where can people find your charity work? Is there a website or is there?
Yeah, so they've just relaunched now as Bloom Space. So they're on the internet and also Instagram. You can find them through my page as well. So Bloom Space, they're called. So they're all doing all sorts of bits. They're doing like a theatre work as well with the kids, which is brilliant. And I'm doing the bits of the adventure side of it then, which obviously I just love it.
I'll put that link up as well. Ollie, thank you so much for your time. You're inspiring me to plan some more bigger travels. So
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great to talk to you.
Thanks for listening. For more Let's Take This Outside, go to letstakethisoutside.ca.
Produced and distributed by the Sound Off Media Company.